Ambassador Park Ji-won adjusted her formal uniform as the transport approached the massive Galactic Council station. The giant structure floated in space, its curved metal arms extending like a flower, opening to the stars. Through the viewport, she could see hundreds of alien ships docked along its outer ring. After decades of isolation, humanity had finally been granted observer status among the 27 advanced civilizations that comprised the Council. "Final approach, Ambassador," said Captain Kim Do-yun, her security chief. The tall, stern-faced man stood at perfect attention beside her, his hand resting near his concealed weapon. "Remember, most species here still view us as primitive newcomers." "Then, we'll have to change their minds," Ji-won replied with quiet confidence. She had spent 15 years in diplomatic service, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Her heart beat faster, but her expression remained calm and professional. The human ship docked with a gentle thud. A delegation of 3 different alien species waited at the airlock. The tallest had blue skin and 4 arms. Another looked almost like a walking plant. The third, barely reaching Ji-won's waist, had large dark eyes and grey skin. "Ambassador Park of Earth," the blue alien said, through a translation device. "I am Coordinator Bayek. Welcome to the Galactic Council Station. Please follow me." Ji-won and her small team walked through wide corridors filled with strange sights and sounds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about their business. Some floated, others crawled, many walked on 2, 4, or more legs. The air smelled of unfamiliar spices and chemicals. "This station houses representatives from all 27 member civilizations," Coordinator Bayek explained. "The oldest have been part of galactic society for over 20,000 years, and now humanity joins them," Ji-won said. "We're honored to be here." The coordinator made a sound that might have been a laugh. "As observers only, Ambassador." "Full. Membership requires much more technological advancement and cultural stability." Do-hyun frowned at this, but Ji-won kept her diplomatic smile. "Every journey begins with a first step." The council chambers were overwhelming, a vast amphitheater filled with beings of all descriptions. Some resembled insects with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Others seemed almost gaseous, floating in special containment fields. A few appeared nearly human, though with subtle differences in skin color or body proportion. Ji-won took her assigned position on a floating platform. She felt hundreds of alien eyes studying her as she prepared to address the council for the first time. The speech she had practiced for months now seemed inadequate. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Earth extends its hand in friendship. Though we are young compared to your ancient civilizations, we bring fresh perspectives and eager minds to this gathering of stars." As she spoke, Ji-won noticed different reactions among the aliens. Some leaned forward with interest, others made gestures she couldn't interpret. A group of reptilian beings in the upper section seemed to be talking among themselves, pointedly, ignoring her. After her speech, several representatives approached to introduce themselves. Most were polite but distant, studying her as one might examine an interesting but potentially dangerous animal. Councillor Lee Hyun-woo, representative of the Arcturian Alliance, approached her after the initial proceedings. Though he appeared mostly human, his silver eyes and the faint scales along his neck revealed his alien heritage. "Your presentation impressed many, Ambassador Park," he said in perfect Korean, surprising her. "Not everyone here wishes to see humanity isolated." "I appreciate the support," Ji-won said, noticing the subtle glances from other representatives. Some watched their conversation with obvious disapproval. "I sense some resistance, however." Hyun-woo nodded slightly. "The Council is divided on Earth's inclusion. Some see potential in your species, others see only danger." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "The Centauri Directorate fears your species' unpredictability. They've been gathering information on Earth for decades." "What kind of information?" Ji-won asked, suddenly alert. "Your wars, your rapid technological advancement, the way humans can adapt to almost any situation." Hyun-woo looked around nervously. "Be careful." Before he could finish, Ji-won spotted movement at the chamber's edges. Council security forces were approaching with weapons drawn. Their black uniforms stood out against the colorful chamber walls. Her communication device chimed. With an urgent warning from Earth Command. Ambassador, our monitoring systems detect unusual activity near your position. Possible hostile intent. Recommend immediate withdrawal. But it was already too late. The security forces had formed a circle around her delegation. Captain Do-hyun moved protectively closer to her, his hand going to his weapon. What is the meaning of this? Ji-won demanded, trying to maintain her diplomatic composure. A tall, thin alien with pale skin stepped forward. Ambassador Park Ji-won of Earth, by authority of the Council Security Directorate, you and your team are being detained on suspicion of espionage. Espionage? Ji-won said in disbelief. We've only just arrived. Our systems detected unauthorized access attempts originating from your neural implants, the security chief said. You were scanning our restricted networks. That's impossible, Do-hyun protested. This is a setup, Councillor Hyunwoo stepped forward. This is highly irregular. The ambassador deserves proper— Stand aside, Councillor, the security chief said coldly. This matter is now under directorate jurisdiction. Ji-won looked around the chamber. Some representatives watched with surprise, others with satisfaction. She realized with a sinking feeling that this had been planned from the beginning. As the security forces closed in, Ji-won activated her emergency beacon. Earth needed to know what was happening. She only hoped the signal would get through before. They took her away. The trial chamber glowed with harsh blue light. Ambassador Park Ji-won stood in the center, contained within a transparent energy field that kept her arms bound at her sides. Her normally perfect uniform was wrinkled and stained after 3 days in detention. Despite this, she kept her head high and her expression calm. Around her, the tribunal seats rose in steep rows filled with representatives from various council races. Many seats remained empty. Only about half the normal council members had chosen to attend what was quickly becoming known as a controversial proceeding. Ambassador Park Ji-won of Earth, you stand accused of espionage against the Galactic Council, announced Councillor Choi Min-seo, head of the Security Tribunal. Though he appeared human, Min-seo was actually from an offshoot human colony that had been absorbed into the Centauri Directorate centuries ago. His eyes glowed faintly purple, the result of genetic modifications common among his people. This tribunal will now present evidence of your crimes, Min-seo continued, his voice echoing through the chamber. Ji-won stood tall despite her restraints. Her voice was steady when she spoke. These charges are fabricated. I demand to speak with my government. Under Section 7 of the Diplomatic Protocols, I am entitled to representation and communication with Earth. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. She was right and everyone knew it. Communications have been blocked, replied Min-seo coldly. For security purposes, evidence has been submitted proving you attempted to access restricted technological databases. The danger you represent requires immediate action. Captain Do-hyun stood in a separate containment field nearby. This is an outrage. We came in peace. A guard moved forward and activated something on a control panel. Do-hyun's field flashed bright white, and he fell to his knees in pain. Silence. From the secondary prisoner, ordered another tribunal member. From her containment field, Ji-won watched as holographic recordings appeared in the center of the chamber. The images showed what appeared to be her sneaking through restricted areas of the station, placing small devices on control panels and downloading information from secure terminals. She knew none of this had happened. The recordings were clearly falsified, but they looked convincing. As you can see, Min-seo said, gesturing to the recordings, Ambassador Park used her diplomatic status to access restricted areas. Our security systems detected unusual energy patterns emanating from her neural implants, technology that was not disclosed to us upon her arrival. I have no neural implants, Ji-won said firmly. This evidence is fabricated. Several councillors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few began to speak among themselves. The human speaks the truth, called a voice from the upper tiers. An elderly representative with scaled skin and wise eyes stood from his seat. I am Councillor Bak from Rigel Prime. My species can sense bioelectrical fields. The human has no Implants, as claimed. Minseo's eyes narrowed. Your abilities are not recognized as evidence in this tribunal, Councillor Back. Another representative stood. I request a full investigation before any judgment is rendered. These proceedings violate at least 7 council protocols. For the security of the council takes precedence over procedural concerns, Minseo replied dismissively. More voices joined in protest. The chamber grew louder as arguments broke out among the representatives. Jiwon watched carefully, noting which species seemed to support her and which aligned with Minseo. It was clear the council was deeply divided. This trial is a sham, called out Representative Song Yoonji from the Proxima Coalition, rising to her feet. Though mostly human in appearance, her skin had a faint blue tint, and her eyes were larger than Earth humans. The evidence is clearly manufactured. My coalition demands proper verification of all claims before this proceeds further. Minseo struck his gavel against the podium. The sound reverberated through the chamber, unnaturally loud. Order! The Security Tribunal has special authority during times of potential crisis. Earth represents an unknown variable in galactic stability. This isn't about security, Yoonji shot back. This is about fear of competition. Certain members of this council fear humans will advance too quickly. The chamber erupted into loud arguments. Jaewon tried to catch Do-hyun's eye, but he remained slumped in his containment field, likely still recovering from the punishment for speaking out. After several minutes of chaos, Minseo activated a device on his podium. A high-pitched tone filled the chamber, causing many representatives to cover their ears or equivalent sensory organs. Enough, Minseo shouted when the noise faded. A vote has already been taken among the Security Council prior to these proceedings. The decision was made with proper authority. What decision? Demanded Yoonji. No vote was announced to the General Assembly. Minseo's face showed no emotion as he responded. The vote has been taken. For crimes against galactic security, Ambassador Park Ji-won is sentenced to immediate execution. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. Execution? Ji-won's voice remained steady despite the sentence. Without proper trial or evidence, the people of Earth will view this as nothing less than murder. The sentence will be carried out immediately, Minseo continued, as if she hadn't spoken, to serve as a message regarding the seriousness with which the Council treats espionage. Security. Drones moved into position around Ji-won's containment field. Their weapons powered up with an ominous hum. You can't do this, Yoonji shouted, moving down toward the chamber floor. Guards blocked her path. This will mean war, called another representative. Minseo smiled thinly. Earth is centuries behind our technology. They pose no threat. As the guards approached, Ji-won straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. She looked directly into the broadcast drones hovering nearby, their red lights indicating they were transmitting across all galactic communication channels. Earth will know what happened here, she said clearly, her voice carrying throughout the suddenly quiet chamber. And Earth will respond. She closed her eyes briefly, thinking of her home, of the family she would never see again. When she opened them, her gaze was steady and unafraid. The execution was transmitted across all galactic channels. A bright flash of energy, a moment of pain, and then Ambassador Park Ji-won of Earth was gone. In the stunned silence that followed, Councillor Yoonji's voice echoed through the chamber. You fools. You have no idea what you've just done. The emergency alert sounded throughout Earth's Unified Defense Command Center. Deep beneath the mountains of what was once called Switzerland, the massive underground complex buzzed with sudden activity. Officers rushed to their stations as screens across the facility displayed the same terrible image. Ambassador Park Ji-won's execution. General Kang Hyun-sik watched the broadcast in horrified silence alongside Earth's Unified Defense Council. His weathered face remained still, but his hands gripped the edge of the conference table until his knuckles turned white. On the large screen, they watched as energy weapons fired, and their ambassador vanished in a flash of light. The room fell completely silent when the broadcast ended. They executed her without due process, whispered Admiral Yoon-jina, her voice tight with rage. The slim, silver-haired woman had known Ji-won for 20 years. They expect us to cower in fear. A grave miscalculation, Hyun-sik replied, his voice calm despite the storm of emotions behind it. He pulled a small device from his pocket, a DNA scanner linked to Earth's most secure systems. He pressed his thumb against it, then entered his authorization code into the command terminal in front of him. Protocol Prometheus is now active. The words, Protocol Prometheus activated, flashed across every screen in the command center. Red, warning lights began to pulse throughout the facility. Defense Minister Han Jae-yong looked around the table at the 12 council members. We always hoped this day would never come, but we prepared for it nonetheless. On the main view screen, a map of the solar system appeared. Dozens of hidden installations lit up across Earth, Mars, and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Locations that officially didn't exist began reporting in. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden military installations hummed to life. The public knew about the small defense fleet Earth maintained, 20 ships of modest capability. What they didn't know was that this was merely for show. Deep within the lunar soil, massive hangar doors slid open for the first time. Stealth ships emerged from concealed lunar bases, their dark hulls designed to absorb rather than reflect light and sensor waves. In the asteroid belt, mining operations transformed, revealing their true purpose as forward military stations. On Mars, what appeared to be scientific research domes reconfigured into defense platforms. Communications blackout complete, reported a young officer. All civilian channels are now under military control. The public will be informed according to emergency protocols. Quantum communication networks activated, called another. All fleet commanders report secure connections established. The ET. Council believes we're centuries behind their technology, said Defense Minister Han, watching as the hidden fleets reported ready status on the displays. He shook his head. They never detected our observation posts throughout their territories. They never realized we've been preparing for this possibility. For over 50 years, since first contact with alien civilizations, Earth had maintained a public face of technological inferiority. Meanwhile, in secret, they had studied and adapted alien technology, developing their own unique advancements. Observation posts disguised as space debris had been quietly placed near every major council world. Earth knew far more about the Galactic Council than they realized. What's our current capability assessment? Asked Hyun-sik. The chief of intelligence, a quiet woman named Director Park Soo-min, stepped forward. Our stealth technology remains undetected by council sensors. Our quantum communication network operates outside their monitoring capabilities. Our weapons systems are comparable to mid-tier council races, though we lack their numbers. Numbers. Won't matter if they can't see us coming, Admiral Yoon noted. Director Park continued. We've identified 17 critical council facilities that control their defense networks. Our strike teams can reach all targets within 3 hours. Civilian. Casualties, Hyun-sik asked. Minimal if we follow the precision strike plan. We target only military and government facilities, not population centers. Hyun-sik nodded. This isn't about revenge against innocent beings. This is about justice for Ambassador Park and security. For Earth. On another screen, images appeared of Councillor Choi Min-seo and 5 other officials who had orchestrated the sham trial. These are our primary targets, Director Park explained. The architects of the ambassador's execution. Our intelligence indicates they've been planning this for months. They hope to make an example of us, to show the consequences of human ambition. Instead, they'll learn about human justice, Admiral Yoon said grimly. The room fell silent again. As everyone contemplated what was about to happen, humanity had remained peaceful since the formation of Earth's unified government 30 years ago, but they had never forgotten their warrior past. All defense fleets report ready status, announced. Admiral Yoon checking her display. First strike fleet is in position near the Arcturus jump point. Second strike fleet has reached Saturn's rings and awaits deployment orders. Third strike fleet reports all stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. She looked up at Hyun-sik. Retaliation forces await your command, General. Hyun-sik stood slowly. At 63, he had spent his entire adult life in military service, But he had never ordered an attack of this magnitude. The weight of the moment pressed on him. Every person in the room watched him, waiting. He thought of Ambassador Park's final words: "Earth will know what happened here, and Earth will respond." "The Council believes we're primitive," Hyunsik said, his voice carrying throughout the silent command center. "They think we'll respond with fear, with begging, or with ineffective anger. They don't understand humanity. Throughout our history, we have faced extinction many times, from natural disasters, from our own weapons, from our own folly. Each time we survived, we adapted, we grew stronger." He looked at the faces around him, then at the image of Ambassador Park that now displayed on the main screen. "The Council has made 3 critical mistakes. First, they underestimated our technology. Second, they underestimated our resolve. And third, they harmed one of our own in front of us." Hyunsik nodded grimly. "The order is given. Justice for Ambassador Park." Across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleets moved into position. The counterattack had begun. 3 hours after the execution, the Galactic Council's primary military coordination center bustled with normal activity. The massive space station orbited the neutral world of Century Prime, its defensive rings glowing softly against the darkness of space. Inside the command center, officers from 12 different species monitored galactic security, their attention focused on displays showing thousands of ships moving through established trade routes. "Commander." Choi Junho leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile on his face. As second-in-command of Council security, he had personally overseen Ambassador Park's trial. The execution had gone smoothly. Now reports from Earth indicated the primitive humans were in disarray, their governments issuing empty threats while their population panicked. "The humans are sending diplomatic protests through the regular channels," reported a junior officer. "Nothing more." "Of course," Junho said with a dismissive wave. "What else could they do? Their technology is centuries behind ours. They have, 20 outdated ships?" 23 registered vessels, the officer confirmed, all remaining in Earth orbit. Junho nodded and took a sip from his cup. "Have the diplomatic office prepare a standard response. Remind them that espionage carries severe consequences. That should—" The lights flickered, then flickered again. Screens around the command center blinked out, one after another. "Report," Junho demanded, sitting up straight. "Sir, we're losing connections to our sensor arrays," called an officer. "Switch to backups." "Backups are not responding." Suddenly, every screen in the command center went completely dark. Emergency lighting activated, bathing the room in dim red light. The soft hum of the station's power systems fell silent. "Impossible," shouted Commander Junho as alarms began to blare throughout the station. "What's happening?" "Sir, we've lost all external communications," reported a reptilian officer, her scales reflecting the red emergency lights. "Defense systems are offline. Get them back online. Now." "Sir, look." Another officer pointed to one of the few functioning screens. It showed a security feed from outside the station. Where empty space had been moments before, vessels now appeared, dozens of them surrounding the station at key points. "No fleet could reach our position so quickly," Junho said, his face pale with shock. "Where did they come from?" But on his screens, previously undetectable human vessels materialized throughout the system. Their technology wasn't primitive at all. Their ships moved with impossible precision, taking up positions around the station's key defense nodes. "Sir, we're detecting similar reports from across Council space," said a communications officer who had managed to restore a partial connection. "The Arcturus defense platform has gone dark. The Rigel monitoring station is not responding. The Sirius fleet yards report multiple unidentified vessels." Junho stared at the screen in disbelief. That's not possible. The humans don't have this capability." The main view screen suddenly activated on its own. The face of a human woman appeared, elderly but strong, with short gray hair and determined eyes. "This is President Shin Minji of the United Earth Government," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I am speaking to all Galactic Council facilities simultaneously." Junho's mouth fell open. The Council's secure communication networks were supposed to be unbreakable. Yet this human was broadcasting on all channels, bypassing every security measure. Across 12 star systems, key council facilities fell silent simultaneously. Human strike teams, augmented with advanced AI tactical systems, neutralized defenses faster than council forces could respond. The council's mighty defense fleet remained in their docks, unable to launch as human operatives had disabled their control systems. On the station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Security Director Nam Woo-jin watched helplessly as human soldiers in Seabindi advanced stealth armor materialized inside the command center. Their weapons were raised but not firing. "Surrender the station," the lead soldier said simply. "No one needs to die today." On the Arcturus defense platform, Council Admiral Back watched as his weapon systems deactivated one by one. Human ships approached, their designs unlike anything in Council records. "How did we not see this coming?" he whispered. Inside the Grand Council chamber itself, representatives from 27 civilizations watched in stunned silence as President Shin's face appeared on every screen. "For decades we have observed your civilization," President Shin continued, her image now displayed across thousands of council facilities. "While presenting ourselves as a developing species, we studied your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We hoped for peaceful integration. We sent Ambassador Park in good faith." Her expression hardened. "You believed us weak. You executed our ambassador as a demonstration of power. Now we demonstrate ours." Council ships attempting to respond found their systems compromised. Weapons would not fire, engines would not engage. Human vessels, using technology that somehow evaded all standard sensors, appeared and disappeared at will. In the Military Coordination Center, Commander Junho tried desperately to organize a response. "Launch all available fighters. Contact the home fleets." "Sir, we can't," cried a panicked officer. "Our systems are locked out." "How? How did they do this?" "Sir," another officer reported, his voice shaking, "we're getting reports from across Council space. Human strike teams have seized control of 17 critical defense installations. They're not killing anyone. They're just taking control," President Shin continued, her voice unwavering. "Earth demands the immediate surrender of all officials responsible for Ambassador Park's execution. You have 1 hour to comply, on his command chair." Junho broke into a cold sweat. He had been one of those officials. Additionally, President Shin said, "We demand a full investigation into the conspiracy against Earth, with all findings made public to all council races." In the Grand Council chamber, representatives began arguing loudly among themselves. Several council races, seeing the effectiveness of Earth strikes, quickly distanced themselves from those who had orchestrated the execution. The Proxima Coalition had no part in this injustice, announced Representative Song Yoonji, rising to her feet. "We formally request Earth's forgiveness and offer any assistance in bringing the guilty to justice." Others quickly followed suit. The Arcturus Alliance, the Rigel Confederation, and 4 other major powers all denounced the execution and pledged support for Earth's demands. Councillor Choi Min-seo, who had presided over Ambassador Park's trial, tried to slip out of the chamber unnoticed. He froze when he found himself surrounded by council security officers who had decided their loyalty to justice outweighed their loyalty to corrupt leaders. In the Military Coordination Center, Commander Junho watched with growing dread as his options disappeared. On the screens, human vessels maintained their positions. They had fired no weapons, caused no casualties. They didn't need to. Their message was clear enough. 1 hour, President Shin repeated. "After that, we will take what we want. The choice is yours." Junho looked around at the frightened faces of his officers. He thought about the ease with which the humans had neutralized the Council's defenses. He thought about what they might do if truly provoked. With shaking hands, he reached for the communication system. "This is Commander Choi Junho," he said, his voice barely steady. I surrender myself to Earth's justice." The newly rebuilt council chambers gleamed under soft light. Gone were the steep tiers that had once placed some races physically above others. Now the chamber formed a perfect circle, with all seats at the same level. Sunlight streamed through the transparent dome overhead, bathing the room in natural light from the nearby star. "The treaty is ready for signing," announced newly appointed Ambassador Ryu Junho, standing at the central podium. His voice carried clearly to all corners of the chamber. 6 months had passed since what historians now called the Retribution crisis, the day Earth had revealed its true strength. Ryu surveyed the gathered representatives. Every member race of the Galactic Council had sent their highest officials for this historic occasion. Many faces showed respect. Some showed lingering fear, but none showed the dismissive contempt that had once been common when humans entered these chambers. The Galactic Council had been reformed after Earth's swift and decisive action. 8 former high officials, including Councillor Choi Min-seo and Commander Choi Junho, now faced justice for their crimes. Their trials were public, broadcast across all worlds, with evidence presented transparently. Earth had insisted on fair trials, the very thing they had denied Ambassador Park. Earth now held a permanent seat on the Council's Executive Committee, alongside allies who had opposed the execution or joined humanity afterward. The Proxima Coalition, the Arcturus Alliance and several other powers had formed a new voting bloc, with Earth at its center. President Shin Minji rose from her seat and approached the podium. At 73, she moved with the careful dignity of age, but her eyes remained sharp and clear. The room fell silent as she prepared to speak. 6 months ago, we demonstrated that humanity would not tolerate injustice, she began, her voice strong despite her years. Today we demonstrate that we seek peace above all. She gestured to the document displayed on floating screens throughout the chamber, the new Galactic Charter. We never wanted conflict, said President Shin, addressing the Assembly. Ambassador Park came seeking peaceful cooperation. Her sacrifice revealed both the injustice in the old order and humanity's resolve. Many representatives nodded in agreement. The execution of Ambassador Park had exposed corruption that had festered within the Council for centuries. Earth's response had been swift but measured. No civilian targets had been struck, no innocent lives taken. They had shown power but also restraint. What surprised us most, said the representative from Arcturus, a tall being with luminous skin, was not your technology, but your mercy. You could have destroyed us. President Shin nodded. Destruction is easy. Building is hard. We chose the harder path. What the Council races now understood was humanity's unique perspective. Most galactic species lived for centuries or even millennia. They moved slowly, planned carefully, avoided risk. Humans, with their short lifespans of barely a century, had developed differently. They innovated quickly, adapted constantly, and seized opportunities that longer-lived species would wait centuries to consider. Their history of internal conflicts had prepared them for external threats in ways peaceful. Civilizations couldn't comprehend. While presenting a public face of steady development, Earth had secretly prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. The humans achieved in 50 years what took other races millennia, whispered a reptilian counselor to his neighbor. Imagine what they will accomplish as full members of galactic society. Ambassador Ryu stepped forward again. The new Galactic Charter before you today represents a fundamental shift in how we govern our shared space. No longer will power be concentrated in the hands of a few ancient civilizations. He touched a control, and the Charter's key points appeared in the air before each representative, translated into their native language. The new Galactic Charter guarantees sovereignty and justice for all member worlds, Junho announced. With equal protection under unified law, no species will stand above others. No representative can be detained without evidence and due process. No world can be denied resources based on age or development. The representatives studied the document. Many had participated in its drafting over the past 6 months. Some had resisted initially, uncomfortable with the new balance of power. But Earth's decisive action had made one thing clear: the old ways were finished. If there are no further questions, we will proceed to the signing, Ambassador Ryu said. The representative from Centauri, once humanity's strongest opponent on the Council, rose to speak. I wish to address Earth's leadership directly before we sign. President Shin nodded permission. 6 months ago, we feared your species, the Centauri admitted. We saw your rapid advancement as a threat, Some among us, those now facing justice, chose to act on that fear. He paused. We were wrong. Your response showed not just strength but wisdom. You could have destroyed us. Instead, you chose to improve us. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. One by one, representatives approached the central table to sign the charter. As tradition demanded, they signed first in their native language, then in the common galactic script. Earth's signature came last, with President Shin pressing her palm to the document. As representatives from 27 civilizations completed the signing, attention turned to the chamber's center, where a memorial to Ambassador Park Ji-won now stood. The life-sized hologram showed her as she had been in life, standing tall, eyes forward, expression determined but kind. At the base of the memorial, a simple inscription read, "Her death united the stars." Ambassador Park came here believing in peaceful cooperation, President Shin said, standing before the memorial. In her memory, we will build the peaceful galaxy she envisioned. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Ryu found himself approached by a young Centauri diplomat. Is it true what they say? The diplomat asked quietly. That Earth knew this might happen? That Ambassador Park understood the risk? Ryu looked at the memorial thoughtfully. Ambassador Park was a diplomat, not a soldier. She came in peace and with hope. But yes, we knew the risk. We prepared for the worst while working for the best. And Protocol Prometheus, the hidden fleets, and technology, insurance, Ryu said simply. Something we hoped never to use. The Centauri diplomat looked troubled. Some say Ambassador Park was sacrificed to trigger this change. Ambassador Ryu's expression hardened slightly. No, we never wanted to lose her, but she believed in her mission enough to face the danger. And when she was murdered, we ensured her death would have meaning. They both looked at the memorial, a reminder of how a single human's death had transformed the galaxy, and how instant retaliation had forged a lasting peace. Outside the council chambers, ships from all 27 civilizations orbited peacefully. Among them, Earth vessels moved openly, no longer hiding their capabilities. The galaxy had changed forever, and a new order had begun. The end.